in your email,
Yes.
or you'll see him at one of the local businesses,
Yes,
shall we say, just to be able to shake his hand and share ideas and issues. So, which way is it going to go?
Well, lawn signs don't vote, and they don't have a vote. But they do tell you if a candidate has energy and has support and momentum. And then definitely there were more Cleveland signs in the town of Coburg than John's, and it may have been a strategy by the Henderson team, but we'll see.
Well, and I would say that it mirrors, if I can, with Sagan and Beatty, because in my humble opinion, I believe there's been more signs, at least just from unofficial driving around town. But Suzanne's been doing this for a while. She has served also not only in Coburg, but elsewhere as well. And having that experience as somebody, especially as deputy mayor, with your hands on the budget at that level, that's a key position. That's a key point. It's one of our key concerns is where are we spending our money? How are our taxes going up? So Suzanne carries some energy, but I would say if Nicole were here, she says, I have that experience in a different way that you said as well, York.
And it's a tough position, the deputy mayor, because he or she is in charge of the budget, and people are always interested, well, are taxes going up or taxes going down? So you're always sort of thinking, well, I have to work at doing that. And in the end, I'm hoping to run again. And I hope I haven't made too many people angry. So it's a balancing act for them politically. You were saying what's the difference, is a difference between the mayors as they go up to county council. And there is a difference. And I think it's a learning curve and a steep one that they get on. And I think Bob Sanderson from Portage probably is a good example. When he came on, he found a lot of things at the county kind of frustrating. But in the end, he became a very good counselor at the county system as he began to realize what the regional government was all about and what their powers were. And I think something as simple as an issue that's been right across here is social housing. Well, at the county level, that's their mandate. They have to address that and take leadership on that. And so suddenly you go from talking about it, and now you have to make decisions on it. And that's a big learning curve to get on. And suddenly you just can't say, well, we should do more. Now they have to say, we are doing more or whatever. So it's going to county council is quite an experience, and it takes you a while to sort of catch on what's it all about. And man, they have this power and never realized it before.
And I can only assume as a taxpayer, a lot of us think I could do a better job, but until you've sat in that seat in those shoes, you might want to hold your opinion until you've actually had the experience. Your opinion as somebody who's covered politics for quite some time.
I thought it was really cool with Bob when he fought a little bit with county council, but then he went and he's changed it because he's the one that came up with the deputy warden. Right? So now a deputy warden in there. So he made that kind of, he went in there again as a fresh face in county politics and brought in something new.
But just think of the county council. I'm trying to think of another example besides social, but another one is the health unit. Their funding comes from, in part, a large part from the county council, or from county government rather. And so they have to make a presentation to the county council as to here's what our needs are and here's what our budget is. And so they'd be challenged. You're asking for a lot more. Explain why you need more. And they would have to do that. So the health unit, which was the focal point during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
And where was the money coming from to keep that going and keep them on top of the situation? A lot of it came from the county. So there are big differences.
Well, and just gentlemen, before we hear the news, hopefully in a few moments about Coburg and the decision that's being made here in the town of Coburg, your thoughts, John, and your thoughts, York, as well. When I hear through the debate, Lucas spoke a lot about, I just want to get everybody on the bus. And I thought, interesting approach. You're working with council members. I've worked on boards of directors. Sometimes people do like to hear themselves speak. It's not always easy to get everybody to, and I don't mean just fall in line and do what I say, but just to get an alignment of energy. Your thoughts on how easy or challenging is that? John is our incumbent. He's done this before. Lucas wants to come in and I would say certainly change things up. But that kept coming up in the debate, this idea of I want to get everybody on the bus. What does that mean for you, Peter, as a former mayor?
Well, I think that's really important. And I listened to Lucas Cleveland at two events, and I was impressed when he said, "Look, I want to lead. I don't know all the answers. I don't know all the answers. I'll admit that right up front. But I'll find out. I'll research it and that. But I want to be a leader, and I think that's what being And I think John Henderson, through his time, is also saying those things. He said, I want to be a progressive leader. And that's what makes a good mayor, a mayor who will follow through on those thoughts and being a good leader and saying, this is where a problem is. Here's an opportunity for growth. Here's an opportunity to make our downtown even better, and grab it and say, let's convince everyone, council and the town, this is a good direction to go in. And I think that's an element that you need as a mayor. You have to be a leader. You have to be a person who has a vision, and you can do it through workshops or whatever to convince everyone this is a good direction to go in. You certainly have to make sense and everything, but that's what's important. And it'll be interesting for the mayor of Port Hope, who's brand new. I think she comes in with a lot of new ideas, fresh ideas. Won't it be kind of exciting to watch how she changes the position in Port Hope, the job of mayor in Port Hope, how she does at county council. It's going to be very exciting.
Fair enough.
When you look at someone like Mandy Martin, who's been acclaimed as mayor in Crammy, came in with a different perspective, from a journalistic perspective, and but came in and changed things around in Colborne and Crammy, and she was rewarded by being acclaimed. People said she's doing a great job.
It's interesting how you say about Lucas wanting everybody on the same bus. I think there's a downside to that as well. You know, you need to have the other sides, the other opinions coming in, and there needs to be some healthy conflict of going back and forth and to sort out ideas and hash out ideas. That good, healthy debate on there. If everybody's just going in the same direction, then you're also alienating all the people that aren't on the bus.
Fair enough. I do want to add an update from the control room is that our understanding in the town of Cobourg, because of course people are on pins and needles here, that there's a delay in some of the numbers being reported for the school board positioning, and that they're just waiting for some. There's been a delay on that side, so it's holding the pipeline up a little bit, but that should be any moment as well. So that's where the holdup is at the moment in our fine town of Cobourg. But Jörg, again, your thoughts on somebody new coming in, and that you made the point earlier that the shape of council will help that mayor go left or right or forward and support their vision. Here in Cobourg compared to Port Hope, I'm curious from both of you, the shape of council, the number we have around the table at council, and the positions and the portfolios that council members carry. What are your thoughts about the incumbent versus the newcomer, John Henderson and Lucas? Obviously, the shape of council will affect both of them, regardless of which one gets in as mayor.
But, this isn't really answering the question directly, but when Angus Reid, a former mayor, back about three mayors ago, when Angus came in, they changed the number of councillors, and so he ended up with 5 councillors and a deputy mayor. And so his friend said, "Angus, what did you do that for?" And he said, "Why? What's wrong with that? I wanted to streamline it." He says, "Now you've got 6 people who are going to vote. And if it's 3 and 3, you're going to have to break the tie. And people are either going to be happy that you broke the tie or unhappy." And he said, "Geez, I never thought of that." But getting back, I'll pass it over.
Yeah, you're just the shape of council and how that would affect John versus Lucas, incumbent versus newcomer, do you think?
Well, I don't think it's not going to have as big an impact on John. Yeah, obviously, with that experience. With Lucas, it all depends on who gets on. Wow. What the shape of this council is like. He's going to need some experience in there. Yeah. So I would think for Lucas's sake, he would want Suzanne. So again, to be his deputy mayor, to have that guiding hand right beside him, right? Yeah, solid. You want to look at those with some experience on there. Adam Bureau, usually popular. You want to have somebody like that on, so you get the younger blood. I don't know. Is there something to be said for Miriam coming back? Tell me more about that. There's some experience there. Miriam who ran for mayor, or did she run for mayor or deputy?
Yes, she did.
She ran for mayor and lost, so was no longer on council. Ran in 2014 and 2018 for council and was defeated. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong line here. She elected councilor in 2006, 2010, ran for mayor in 2014, got defeated by Gil Brockeneer.
I see.
Right, so off the council there. She's another experienced one. A little bit controversial, but again, not everybody on the same bus. You want
Yeah.
something like that to
Yeah.
get that other side, that other opinion.
But I think another thing, as we see the councils unfold, and certainly we both sort of know the councillors in corporate really well. If the mayor is progressive, and it seems like Lucas Cleveland is a progressive sort of person. I know John Henderson personally, and I think he's a progressive kind of thinker. He'd like to think that way. And so, yeah, I think what you talked about there, York, is very true. On council, you get some councillors who are small C conservative. They will attack change and say, well, wait a second, you explain to me why this is a better system. Where you'll get people who are progressive, and they'll be in your camp. So the job of the mayor is to bring those two camps together. And sometimes you have to make a compromise. You have to concede a point here and there to get the idea through, so that the council in the end says, okay, I can accept that. I can go along with it. And you have to live with the fact that there's usually going to be at least one councillor who's going to object to it and who will probably vote against it regardless.
Right.
That's just the nature of councillors. Eh? They're all A-line personalities, and they have positions and points of view. Yeah.
I'd love to ask a question to each of you as well about, I'll call it ward reorganization. And that's been a natural part of the process in the provincial election system, where things get shifted around, and it does impact the flow and the ebb and flow of support for councillors. And I have a good friend running, not in Cobourg, outside of Cobourg, as a newcomer. And it's been interesting to hear his perspective of, when you change the boundaries, when things get moved around, which has happened over the years, Port Hope included, that there was a restructuring that happened. How easy or difficult is it to work with that, Peter, in terms of that new reality when it comes to running office?
I mean, you're talking about like developing a ward system. I think as a town becomes bigger, becomes a city, I think it's inevitable you're going to get into a ward system. But I think in a community such as Port Hope or Cobourg, I'm not sure that the ward system is beneficial. I think it's still small enough that people can think in a global kind of way of what's the best way for this community to grow in. I know Port Hope is, because of during the Harris eras, they said you have to amalgamate.
Yes.
I don't think that's really worked well in Port Hope, because I think they have a rural community and they have the urban community. I think they've tried to bring it together, and probably as we're going along, it's getting better and better. But I do think we're still small enough that I don't think we need to be anticipating or wanting a ward system. A ward system, when you break it down, and you two follow it just as well as I do, that person who's elected from that ward, that becomes his or her focus, instead of thinking in global terms, what's best for the whole municipality. So I think you lose something when you do that.
Fair enough. Yeah, you're
I agree with that point right there. Exactly. The word, you want to have somebody that's got a vision for the big picture.
Fair enough.
Right? Especially when you look to get things done, and we started again talking about this way earlier in the show, is the different level of governments that have to work together. Everybody's got to see the big picture. Everybody's got to be on the same page. Not necessarily the same bus, but on the same page.
I appreciate that.
Right?
Fair enough. We have a thought here. Sorry, folks, for the control about Port Hope. We are trying to get in touch with Elena's campaign just to get some news there. So I'm sure she's a little busy right now, but we thought it might be a good time for those that perhaps have just joined us to look at the Port Hope results, because it is a big moment for Port Hope with a new mayor coming in, Elena Henkivsky, who came in with quite a campaign up against Jeff Lees, of course, and others that had been on the council. So we'll bring our graphic up here. We've got Elena at just over 2,000 votes, 2,093. Again, Jeff Lees, 25 years, came in at 1894. Lori Carr, our other incumbent, very experienced. She held herself very well during the campaign, I would say, and also the debate. She stood her ground and brought many good points forward. And Angela Grogan, who was one of the newcomers at 551. So again, very clear choice. And for our urban area, for elected, you've got Claire Holloway at 2131, Adam Pearson, just under 2,000, Todd Adrich at just under 2,000, and Les Andrews is our incumbent, came in at with that 1867 to basically get that seat back on council. The others, of course, did not make it in, including our Wendy Meadows, who has been sitting on council as well. So again, just to touch base, your thoughts on Wendy and the time that she served on council versus not getting in for this particular term.
Well, I'm surprised, but I think Port Hope has said, Port Hope, it'd be interesting, by the way, what percentage of the vote came out of Port Hope. I was trying to add them up there with the three.
I was too.
With the mayors. I couldn't do it fast enough.
Yeah. We'll try and get that math.
I think the people in Port Hope, they've had an opportunity for change and they've grabbed it.
Yeah.
They've really grabbed it, which really leads me to another point. Let's think beyond all the different municipalities and the elections coming in. We're all interested in it. Eastern Ontario, Cobourg, Northumberland County, we're on the cusp of terrific growth, I think. I really believe that.
Yes.
I mean, the growth has got as far as Newcastle. It was in Bowmanville, now it's in Newcastle. And it's going to make that big jump to Cobourg and Port Hope and into Northumberland County. And I think, isn't it going to be interesting to challenge the new mayor from Port Hope, the mayor from Cobourg, whoever it is, plus the other mayors, and the county, how they're going to address this suddenly faced with a lot of growth that places like Halton and region and these other regions have had to face for a decade.
Yes.
Suddenly, we're going to be faced with. I think it's inevitable. These other areas are filling up. Mississauga's filled up. Milton is filled up. These places, Markham, all these places, Newmarket, are getting filled up. And now this is where the people are going to turn.
Yes.
And so, how are we going to address things like go transit?
Yeah,
right?
Key
Go
point, Peter.
transit.
Well, that came up in one of our debates as well,
Yeah.
if I may, that somebody had said, you look at the urban sprawl from Toronto east,
Yeah.
and at some point it felt, and I grew up in Pickering, to be frank, but at some point it felt like that evolution skipped over Pickering. Ajax exploded, and so we don't want to go through that here in Cobourg. But you do want growth is inevitable, to your great point, but you want to do it in a designed fashion.
You want to control the growth.
Yes.
Instead of having developers come in and control the growth, you want to have the growth put forward and say, okay, if you want to put in the subdivision, for instance, here's where the streets should go, here's where the bike lanes should go, here's where the park should go, and so forth. If you have that and say, if you want to develop that, we really want you to come in, but this is what you have to do. Here's the plan, and we've developed it as a town council, as a town administration, and the town supporting it, rather than the developer coming in and saying, here's what I'm going to do. And and I think we're going to be faced with more and more of those kind of situations, and it's going to come sooner than later. And someone like yourself, Mark, who moved to Cobourg because you just fell in love with the town,
100%.
and it's a small town feel about it, and it's a feel-good town. You might be saying, "Oh my heavens, what's happened to this?"
What's my timing?
And we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We already know the plans to extend the 401.
Yes.
Widen that going out of Cobourg, going further out. We know there's the plans for a NICOLE Road exit at some point in the future. Now's the time to start having all those plannings, all those discussions. This is where if this is gonna happen, let's have these planning discussions now. Let's be ready when it happens.
Absolutely.
Well, look at the numbers that came out for the protest at the VIA station here in Cobourg.
Well,
I think it was 250 or something in that ballpark.
And that I can't wrap my head around, and nobody can do anything about it at any level of government. It's VIA, and unless
Crown Coalition.
I think the story I get about VIA is just manpower to operate that line at that time, which seems strange to me, because they'd almost fill 3 cars in the morning. You think, and they would say Cobourg and Port Hope are the most profitable stops on our line. And yet they will not bring it back, and they're saying we just don't have the manpower to operate that. I mean, where are we going to park the train at night? And they're saying, well, we'll put it in Kingston, but then we have to have people from Kingston, engineers and so forth, to operate the trains. So anyway.
Fair enough. I'm going to jump in, and I hate to do it. We have a
Look
new
at
mayor.
this. Look at this.
New mayor, Lucas Cleveland, at 3,391 versus 3,286 for our incumbent, John Henderson. That is not the only newcomer news that we have in the town of Cobourg, but we do want to focus on interesting. I was just going to say, what do you think Lucas is thinking that Elena just got in Port Hope? Is it his time to be the newcomer here?
Right.
And absolutely, the voters have stepped in and said, absolutely, we believe that Lucas Cleveland is the way to go. So with great respect to John Henderson and the work that he's done here, the town has voted, and it's time for a change. Just over 150 votes, I believe it is.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And it gets more interesting. The plot thickens. Nicole
Look at this.
is our new deputy mayor by quite a stretch, actually. Nicole, our new deputy mayor.
That is unbelievable, almost. Well, I find that stunning. I just thought this race here could be extremely close.
Yep.
I thought at the beginning, I thought Suzanne Sagan.
And our counselors, folks, we have Adam Bureau in at 4,000. Just over
Randy Barber got in.
Look at that,
and Miriam,
folks.
and they brought Miriam back.
Interesting.
Yep.
Miriam is, this is it. So we have Mark, Michael, Ashley, Sarah, and Johnny not making a seat at council. Adam Bureau.
Adam Bureau has gone from finishing last and just squeaking in last year, and now he headed the polls.
Look at that. Over 4,000 votes for Adam. Brian Darling, 3761, folks. Aaron Burchett, 3412. And Miriam, to your point, has now come back, has earned a seat on the council, and Randy Barber at 2531. So this is our new council, deputy mayor, and mayor in the town of Cobourg. The people have voted for change.
Isn't that a shakeup, eh?
Wow.
That is a huge shakeup.
That is tremendous.
Two fresh positions at the top of Cobourg Council.
I'm sorry, I wonder if they could put that
the councilors again?
The council graph up.
Yeah, the council number coming up again here, folks. Adam Bureau, there we are at the top. 3 incumbents, and